There is a fundamental misunderstanding in the fitness world. It's a misconception that dictates how millions of people train, how they view themselves, and how they judge others. It's the belief that the size of a muscle dictates the absolute limit of its capacity. That sheer gravitational mass moving up and down on a barbell is the only true metric of strength. But true strength, the kind that defies gravity, the kind that requires total mastery of the human nervous system, looks very different. And sometimes it comes wrapped in a package that the average gym bro would completely dismiss. Meet Maya. Standing at 5'2" and weighing exactly 115 pounds, Maya doesn't look like she could bench press a small car. In a baggy sweatshirt and jeans, she looks like a college student cramming for midterms. What you can't see beneath the oversized fleece is the terrifyingly dense, tightly coiled musculature of a recently retired Olympic gymnast. A woman who spent the last 15 years of her life subjecting her body to G-forces that would make a fighter pilot dizzy. It was a Friday night in downtown Austin, Texas. Maya was sitting in a crowded bar with a friend, sipping a club soda with lime. On the main television above the bar, a replay of the World Gymnastics Championships was playing. Maya watched quietly, analyzing the mechanics of a complex uneven bars routine. Enter Brad. Brad was 6'2", 250 pounds of creatine, chicken breast, and supreme overconfidence. His shoulders were so broad he had to turn slightly sideways to navigate through the crowded tables. He wore a tank top that barely contained his lats, and he possessed the kind of loud, booming voice that demanded everyone within a 20-foot radius acknowledge his presence. Brad and his two equally massive friends bumped into Maya's table, spilling a few drops of her drink. "My bad, little lady," Brad boomed, barely glancing at the spilled water. He set his pitcher down on her table without asking, his eyes drifting up to the television screen showing the gymnastics competition. He let out a loud, derisive snort. "Man, I don't know why they show this stuff on the sports channel," Brad proclaimed to his friends, making sure Maya could hear. "It's practically ballet. Just flipping around on a bouncy floor. Give me some real sports. Give me powerlifting, strongman, something that actually takes strength, you know?" Maya's friend rolled her eyes and turned away, used to this kind of drunken bravado. But Maya slowly set her glass down. She looked at Brad's massive, vascular arms, then up to his face. "You don't think gymnastics requires strength?" Maya asked, her voice calm, slicing through the noise of the bar. Brad laughed, a deep, rumbling sound. "Come on! They weigh, 100 pounds wet? They're just light. It's all momentum. You put one of those girls under a real squat bar, they'd snap in half. I pull 500 pounds off the floor. That's strength. What they do is just stretching with style." Maya tilted her head. "I think you're confusing lifting a dead weight with controlling your own body. I guarantee you, the average elite gymnast is pound for pound infinitely stronger than you are." Brad's smirk widened into a grin of pure condescension. "Pound for pound? Maybe. But in the real world, absolute strength wins. I could do their little routines if I really wanted to. It's just body weight. I warm up with my body weight." "Is that right?" Maya said, finally standing up. Even in her boots, she barely reached Brad's chest. "I'll tell you what, Brad. The 24-hour barbell club is right across the street. We walk over there right now. I'll give you 5 body weight exercises. Just 5. If you can complete even one of them with proper form, I will buy your drinks, and your friends' drinks, for the rest of the night, and pay for your protein powder for a month." Brad's eyes lit up. "And if I can't do your little stretches?" If you can't, Maya said, her voice dropping an octave, you pay for my gym membership for a year. And you post a video on your Instagram, which I'm sure you have, admitting that gymnasts are the strongest athletes on earth. Brad laughed loudly, high-fiving his buddy. Easiest bet of my life. Let's go, Tink. Lead the way. The 24-hour gym was mostly empty, save for a few dedicated late-night lifters. The air smelled of chalk dust, sweat, and iron. Brad strutted in like he owned the place, immediately shredding his tank top to reveal a torso that looked like it was carved out of granite. He began doing dramatic arm circles, his massive pecs bouncing. Maya simply took off her oversized hoodie. Brad's friend suddenly stopped laughing. Beneath the baggy clothes, Maya's physique was terrifying. She didn't have the balloon-like mass of a bodybuilder. She had the dense, hyper-defined muscle of an apex predator. Every fiber of her upper body looked like steel cable pulled taut. All right, big guy, Maya said, walking over to an empty patch of rubber flooring. Let's start with a warm-up. Exercise 1, the L sit. Maya sat on the floor, placed her palms flat next to her hips, and pushed. Instantly, her entire body lifted off the ground. Her legs remained perfectly straight, locked together, hovering a few inches above the rubber mat. She didn't shake. She didn't breathe hard. She just levitated, looking at Brad as if she were waiting for a bus. After 10 seconds, she lowered herself gently. Your turn, she said. 10 seconds. Keep your legs straight. Brad chuckled. Tricep dips on the floor? Cute. He sat down, placed his massive hands on the mat, and pushed. His massive torso lifted, but his legs stayed firmly planted on the ground. Grunting, he tried to lift his heels. The moment his feet left the floor, his entire body began to violently shake. His immense upper body weight was suddenly levering against his core and hip flexors, muscles he had only ever trained with padded machines. Come on, up, Brad gritted his teeth. He managed to lift his legs 1 inch before his lower back rounded completely. His core collapsed and he slammed back down onto the mat, gasping for air. A sharp cramp seized his right quad, causing him to wince and grab his leg. Cramp, Brad muttered, his face turning red. Just a cramp. Didn't stretch. What's next? Exercise 2, Maya said, walking over to the squat rack area. Pistol squats. Let's see how those 500-pound deadlift legs handle some absolute control. Maya balanced on her left foot, extended her right leg straight out in front of her, and slowly descended. It was a masterclass in biomechanics. She went all the way down until her glute practically touched the floor, paused, and drove straight back up without a single wobble. She did 3 on each leg, her movement as smooth as a hydraulic press. Just give me 1, Maya offered. Brad approached, shaking out his massive legs. He planted his right foot, stuck his left leg out, and started to lower himself. But Brad's body was built for a 2-legged base. His massive quads were strong, but his ankle mobility was non-existent, and his stabilizer muscles had never been asked to balance 250 pounds on a single point of contact. Halfway down, his knee caved inward. His heel lifted off the floor. Desperately trying to stop his descent, he threw his upper body forward, lost his balance completely, and crashed onto his back, his massive legs flailing in the air like a flipped turtle. One of his friends snickered. Brad shot him a death glare as he scrambled to his feet, dusting chalk off his back. The arrogance was completely gone, replaced by a dark, simmering frustration. Okay, fine. Balance stuff. Flexibility, Brad spat. breathing heavily. That's not real upper body strength. Let's go to the pull-up bar. Let's see some pull-ups. Sure, Maya smiled, but let's make it interesting. Exercise 3, the strict muscle up. Maya walked over to a high pull-up bar. Without a running start, without a swing, she jumped and gripped the bar. Slowly, demonstrating terrifying pulling power, she pulled her chest to the bar, smoothly rotated her wrists, and pressed her entire upper body over the bar until her arms were locked out. There was no kicking, no momentum, just pure, unadulterated strength. She lowered herself just as slowly. "Your turn," she said. Brad chalked his hand so aggressively it looked like a smoke bomb went off. He leaped up, grabbing the bar. He had strong lats, there was no denying that. He pulled himself up explosively, but as his chest hit the bar, he realized he had no idea how to transition his 250 pounds over the bar. He threw his right elbow over, trying to muscle through it. His legs kicked wildly in the air, trying to generate momentum. Veins bulged on his forehead as he fought gravity, but his arm remained stuck under the bar. With a loud, painful tearing sound, a callus on his palm ripped open. Brad cursed, dropping from the bar and clutching his bleeding hand. He leaned against the rig, panting. 3 exercises down. 3 humiliating failures. His muscles, trained only for short bursts in linear paths, were screaming in confusion. "You want to stop?" Maya asked, holding out a towel. "You can just admit it now." "No," Brad growled, wrapping his bleeding hand in tape. "Give me number 4. I'm not losing this." Maya nodded slowly. "Okay, exercise 4, the front lever." Maya gripped the bar again. This time, without bending her elbows even a fraction of an inch, she engaged her lats and core. Slowly, her feet left the ground. She pivoted at the shoulders until her entire body, from her shoulders down to her pointed toes, was perfectly horizontal to the floor. She looked like she was lying on an invisible bed of air. She held it for 5 agonizingly long seconds. The sheer torque on her shoulder joints and core was unimaginable. Brad stared. He understood the physics of what he was looking at, and for the first time that night, he looked genuinely terrified. He stepped up. He gripped the bar. He tried to lock his elbows and pull his hips up, but his lower body was simply too heavy, and his lats, though massive, lacked the straight arm pulling strength required to fight that kind of leverage. He strained, his face turning purple, but his body stubbornly hung vertically. He didn't even come close. He dropped down, his shoulders burning. "One left," Maya said softly. "The final exercise, the planche." Brad just looked at her, his chest heaving. "What the hell is a planche?" Maya crouched down on the mat. She placed her hands flat, fingers pointing slightly outward. She leaned forward, shifting her weight onto her wrists. Then she simply floated upward. Her feet left the ground, her legs extending straight out behind her. She was balancing her entire weight on her hands alone, her body perfectly parallel to the ground, defying every law of physics Brad had ever understood. It was the ultimate display of straight arm strength, core stability, and total body tension. She held it perfectly still for 10 seconds. When she finally lowered her feet and stood up, the gym was dead silent. Even the people lifting in the corners had stopped to watch. Brad didn't even try. He just stood there, staring at the floor, sweat dripping from his nose. His massive arms hung limply at his sides. He looked at Maya, really looked at her, and saw past the size. He saw the years of brutal, agonizing discipline. He saw the iron-forged tendons and the supreme neurological control. He let out a long, slow breath and grabbed his tank top off the floor. I don't even know how that's physically possible, Brad said, his voice quiet, devoid of all the booming bravado from the bar. He pulled his phone out of his gym bag and opened Instagram. He hit record. "Hey guys," Brad said to his followers, looking exhausted but genuine. "I just got completely humbled by an absolute machine. I thought lifting heavy meant I was strong. I was wrong. Gymnasts are the strongest athletes on the planet. I just got destroyed in 5 minutes, and I'm paying for her gym membership for a year." He stopped the recording and hit post. He looked at Maya and extended his massive, taped-up hand. "I'm Brad," he said. Maya shook it. Her grip was like a vice. "Maya, you've got a good deadlift, Brad, but next time, maybe try stretching." Sometimes true strength isn't about how much weight you can move through space. It's about how perfectly you can move yourself. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments below. Could you survive Maya's bodyweight challenge? Stay strong, and I'll see you all in the next video.